At dusk, in a stone farmhouse above Bamiyan, a woman stirs dried qurut into a pot of potatoes. Across the valley, snow is settling into two tall niches cut high in the cliff, each empty, each holding the shape of something gone. Before dawn, in a Kabul lane nearly 6,000 feet, a baker slaps dough against the wall of a clay oven and waits for it to blister. And in the northeast, a man kneels by the grey Kokcha River and turns a rough stone until one face flashes the blue these valleys have given up for 6,000 years. This is Afghanistan, some 40 million people, Pashtun and Tajik, Hazara and Uzbek, on a crossroads where Persia, India, the steppe and the Greek world each laid a layer and none erased the last. Yet the country still digs the bluest stone on earth and still sets four peoples around one plate. What follows is Afghanistan read through five of its blues: a city's high dawn, a stone older than empires, a banner raised on Nowruz, two cliffs the dynamite could not undo, and one plate that gathers four peoples. Before the sun clears the ridgeline, a bakery doorway is already open to the cold, and inside, a pair of hands works a loop of dough flat and slaps it against the inside wall of a tandoor, the clay oven sunk into the floor, where it holds for a minute and comes away blistered, scorched in patches, steaming. The first customer of the day takes a hot round straight off the oven and cups it in both hands against the cold, and the steam lifts off it into the blue air. This is Kabul, nearly 6,000 feet up, just over a mile above the sea, a city of some 4.5 million people set in a bowl of dust and rock and ringed on every side by mountains. At this height, the cold holds long into spring, and the first heat most people meet in a day is the bread itself. Bread comes fresh here each morning. Bought still hot and carried home before the day starts, the one fixed point in the household before anything else is decided. 5 centuries ago, a young prince named Babur, born in 1483, took this city and loved it past all the richer capitals he would later win. He founded the Mughal Empire that would rule much of India, and yet he asked, at his death in 1530, to be carried back and buried here, in the place he kept calling the finest he knew. His grave still lies on a terraced slope above the western districts, open to the wind, looking down over the rooftops and the traffic exactly as he asked. The lane fills slowly. A shutter goes up, a kettle starts, and the smell of new bread moves down the street ahead of the light. As the light finally reaches the upper floors, it falls first on a grid of flat rooftops crowded with satellite dishes and water tanks, and the avenues below begin to fill, traffic threading between concrete blast walls and glass shop fronts not yet open. This is Wazir Akbar Khan, the district where the contemporary city does its business, laid out in wide, straight streets that carry embassies and clinics and wedding halls able to seat 1,000 guests, the generators behind them humming before the public power comes on. It is the newest layer on very old ground, the modern face the rest of Kabul grows out from, and at this hour, it wakes the way any working city wakes, without ceremony. Shutters going up, engines turning over, a boy carrying a tray of tea glasses across 4 lanes of slow cars. The deep history is everywhere underfoot, but the mourning does not pause for it. The district simply gets on with the day, the present pressing its weight down on everything that came before. Above all of it, long before the avenues see any sun, a line of snow peaks is already burning gold against a sky still dark at street level. What is it actually like to wake here, a mile up, with the mountains holding the sun off the floor of the valley? The answer is written on those ridges. These are the Hindu Kush, a range that runs some 500 miles across the country, with peaks standing above 20,000 feet, high enough that they take the dawn first and hand it down to the cities slowly, rationing the light hour by hour into the bowl below. They have always decided more than the time of mourning. For thousands of years this wall turned back, funneled or swallowed the armies and caravans that tried to cross it, forcing the trade roads through a handful of high passes. What came through them, goods and faiths and alphabets and invasions alike, is much of what made the country what it is. The snow on the peaks is also the water in the taps, the melt feeding the rivers that nearly the whole country drinks. The mountains are the city's clock, its gate and its well, all at once. And the same mountains that ration the dawn over Kabul run on to the northeast, ridge behind ridge, for hundreds of miles, until they reach the valleys where the rock itself turns blue. A blue the rest of the world has crossed deserts and centuries to carry away. High in the far northeast, where the valleys climb past the last trees and the slopes go bare to rock, a man crouches over a fist-sized lump of dull grey stone, wets one face with his thumb and turns it to the light until a vein flashes a blue so deep it seems to come from under the stone. How did a stone from one hidden valley end up on a pharaoh's mask and a ceiling in Renaissance Europe? This is Badakhshan, the province that has been digging lapis lazuli for some 6,000 years, the oldest worked source of the stone on Earth. Carried west, it was laid in bright lines across the burial mask of a pharaoh who died around 1323 BC. Ground fine into the pigment called ultramarine, it colored the robes of saints and the skies above altars across Renaissance Italy, where by weight it cost more than gold. The Persian name for it, lajwad, is the root that became azure in one direction and lazuli in the other. One seam of rock, 3 civilizations, and the same blue running through all of them. The blue does not stay in the mountains. It comes down the way everything comes down here, by water, in the grey-green rush of the Kokcha, the river that drains the Lapis country. Along the shallows, figures crouch to wash and to sift the gravel the current leaves behind. And at the fording places, men and loaded animals cross where the water runs wide and slow. For thousands of years, this river has been the artery of Badakhshan, the road the stone took to Persia, to India, and on to the sea. Where the Kokcha slows and widens, the town of Faizabad climbs the slopes above both banks, the capital of the province, where the high country comes to trade. Tiered houses step up the hillsides, a single bridge ties the two halves of the town together, and in the bazaar, the stone is weighed and sorted and argued over the way it has been for centuries, alongside the fleeces, dried mulberries, and livestock the valleys send down. It is a working town at the end of the roads, the last stop before the country folds into its most remote corner. Beyond Faizabad, the land narrows to a single thin finger running east between two ranges, a corridor only a few miles wide in places, drawn a century and a half ago as a buffer between empires and reaching to the border with China. This is the Wakhan, one of the most remote inhabited places in Asia, and the people who hold it through the winters are the Wakhi, herders who move their sheep and yaks between stone houses on the valley floor and pastures higher up. Inside one of those houses, thick-walled against the cold, a woman lifts a blackened kettle off a fire of dried dung and pours out salt tea, milky and steaming, while the room fills with the smell of smoke and animals, and a child holds both hands to the flame. Outside, the wind comes off the snow. Inside, the tea goes round, and the day is built one cup at a time. The high pastures the Wakhi climb to in summer run up into the Pamirs, the range that closes the corridor at its eastern end, a plateau of rounded snow peaks and cold valleys long called the roof of the world. Above 14,000 feet, the air thins, the growing season shrinks to a few short weeks, and life moves with the grass, the flocks driven up when the snow lets go and down again before it returns. There is almost no one. The quiet at this height is near total, broken only by wind and the bells of the animals, and the blue here is overhead, in a sky pulled dark and tight by the altitude. The stone has been leaving these valleys since before the country had a name. But once a year, far to the west, on the first morning of spring, the whole of the north comes down out of its valleys and crowds onto a single plain, in its hundreds of thousands, beneath a dome the color of the stone they pull from the rock. On the first morning of spring, that dome stands at the center of the largest gathering the country holds. Mazar-i-Sharif is the great city of the northern plains, its name meaning the noble shrine, and the shrine it is built around stands beneath walls and domes set with tens of thousands of glazed tiles in blue and turquoise and white. Many here hold that the grave inside belongs to the Prophet's cousin and son-in-law, the fourth of the caliphs, carried here in secret and found again long after, though other cities make the same claim. The first shrine over it was leveled by the Mongols. What stands now was raised in its place, and it has pulled the faithful and the curious to this square for centuries. The day is Nowruz, the new year of the Persian-speaking world, fixed to the spring equinox and kept for some 3,000 years, since the time of the fire priests. It still turns on the same March morning for a few 100 million people, from these plains to the Caspian and far beyond. At the heart of the day, in the courtyard before the shrine, a tall pole is lifted upright by many hands at once, and a long banner runs the length of it. And the moment it stands, the crowd surges, and a great cry goes up. The banner will hold its place for 40 days. Through the weeks, the cold finally breaks, and to come near it, or to lay a hand on it, is held to carry a blessing, even a cure. Across the plaza, flocks of white pigeons lift and settle on the tiles and on the shoulders of the worshippers, kept and fed at the shrine for generations. By the belief here, a grey bird that joins the flock turns white within 40 days. What does it look like when the whole of a country gathers for one morning in a single square? Around the edges of the crowd, the new year is kept in smaller ways. On a cloth spread at the foot of a wall, a woman spoons out a compote of 7 dried fruits and nuts, soaked the night before, until the water runs sweet and dark, and passes the glasses up into the press of people, one hand to the next. And the crowd that takes them is the whole country in one place. A Pashtun down from the eastern passes, a Tajik from the valleys, a Hazara from the central highlands, an Uzbek from the plains that run north into the steppe. 4 peoples who carry different tongues and do not always agree, pressed shoulder to shoulder for one morning around one banner and one blue dome. By midday, much of the crowd moves out to the open ground beyond the city, where the new year is marked another way again. Dozens of riders on horseback wheel and collide across the dust, driving for the carcass of a calf and the few seconds it takes to haul it clear and round a marker. A contest of the northern plains run for centuries on exactly this flat, hard ground, won by the man who can keep his seat and his grip while the rest tear at him. For one morning, the 4 peoples close into a single crowd, gathered and whole. But the same ground that can draw them around one banner also holds, a few ranges to the south, the clean and deliberate shape of what was taken from it. A few ranges to the south and west, a valley opens between cliffs of pale sandstone, and high in the face of one of them are 2 tall hollows, each cut in the unmistakable outline of a standing figure, each holding now nothing but air and shadow and cold. For 1400 years, those hollows were not empty. Carved into the cliff in the 6th century, when Bamiyan was a halt on the Silk Road and a center of Buddhist learning, where thousands of monks lived in cells cut from the same rock, stood 2 colossal Buddhas, the taller 55 meters from foot to crown, the height of a building of 18 stories, the largest standing Buddhas anywhere on earth. They were hewn from the living cliff and finished in mud and straw, painted and gilded, their robes once bright and their faces turned out over the valley and the caravans that passed below for the better part of 1,000 years. Then, across a few weeks in the spring of 2001, they were taken down. The order given, the figures were shelled with artillery and anti-aircraft fire. And where that failed, men were lowered on ropes to pack explosives into the rock. And over some 25 days in March, the two statues were broken from their niches and brought down to the valley floor in rubble. What the dynamite could not erase is the shape. The niches hold it still, exactly. The line of the shoulders, the fall of the robe, the place where the head once was. It is a precise and deliberate absence, cut into the cliff in the form of what is gone. Khaled Hosseini, the Kabul-born novelist, has said he wanted Western readers to see Afghan identity outside the narrow frame of war. In Bamiyan, that identity is not an argument, but a wall of stone, a kitchen fire, and a silence no headline can finish. The valley has been emptied before. On a hill across from the cliffs stand the broken walls of a citadel the people here call the City of Screams, and the name holds its memory. In the year 1221, the army of Genghis Khan, having lost a favored grandson to an arrow in the siege below, took the place and put everyone in it to death. And the fortress has lain in ruins on its hill for the 800 years since. And still the valley is lived in. This is the heartland of the Hazara, who work the thin, high fields and hold the place through long winters, and many of them live in the cliffs themselves, in caves first cut by the monks. Inside one of them, a low fire burns under a pot. The midday meal is set out on a cloth on the rock floor, and the smoke climbs to a ceiling that monks carved and painted 15 centuries ago. The valley grows some of the best potatoes in the country, and the meal is mostly that, eaten hot against the cold outside. West of the cliffs, the road climbs to where the blue comes back once more, this time as water. Nearly 3,000 meters up lie 6 deep lakes, held one above the next behind natural dams of pale mineral stone, the water a blue so saturated it seems lit from beneath, ringed by bare red cliffs and fed by springs that lay the rock walls down grain by grain across thousands of years. In 2009, the lakes were made the country's first national park. Families come up to the shore to sit, and the same color that began as rough rock in Badakhshan lies here in the cupped highlands, cold and still and bright. The blue has been a stone, a name carried west, a banner over a crowd, and now the water in 6 high lakes. It has been every cold and far-off thing the country owns. The one place it has not yet come to rest is at a table, a single plate, set down on a cloth far to the south. Far to the south, where the highlands drop away into hot, dry plains, a vendor sets a pomegranate on a tin scale, halves it with a single stroke, and the seeds spill loose, dark red and wet and packed tight as beads. Kandahar is the country's second city and the center of the south, a place of orchards fed by old canals where the pomegranate has been grown so long and so well that the fruit now carries the city's name to markets far beyond the country's borders. It is among the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the region. A Macedonian army reached it more than 2,300 years ago and left a Greek city in its wake. One more layer the crossroads kept and built on. The trees come into fruit in autumn, and for a few weeks the stalls stack the globes into red walls, sold by weight and split open at the counter to show the color as proof of what is inside. In the center of the city, beneath a dome ribbed in green and turquoise, lies the man the country counts as its founder. In 1747, an assembly of chiefs raised up a commander named Ahmad Shah Durrani, and he drew the scattered peoples of these mountains and plains into a single state for the first time, an empire that would reach from the edge of Persia to the edge of Delhi. He made this city his first capital, and when he died, they carried him back to it. Old men come to sit in the shade of his tomb through the heat of the afternoon, and pilgrims press their palms to the cool stone, in the place where the modern country marks its beginning. From Kandahar, the old road runs northwest across the desert to the country's far western corner and the city of Herat, set close to the border with Iran. Herat was once among the great capitals of the Persian-speaking world, a city the Timurids filled 600 years ago with mosques and minarets and the work of poets and painters, until it was counted among the finest in Asia. The fields around it still grow something just as sought after. On cold autumn mornings, families bend over rows of pale purple crocus, picking the flowers by hand before the sun is fully up, because each one holds only 3 thin crimson threads, and it takes some 150,000 flowers to fill a single kilogram of saffron, the most costly spice by weight in the world. The threads are pulled free by fingertip, dried and weighed in grams, and the table is where the country's distances finally close. In a home back in Kabul, where the journey began, long-grained rice is steamed with broth and dark cumin, and over it goes everything the rest of the country has sent up its roads. Lamb cooked until it falls from the bone, carrots cut fine and caramelized, raisins and almonds, and across the top, the deep red seeds of Kandahar's orchards and a few crimson threads of Herat's saffron bleeding gold into the grain. This is Kabuli pulao, the dish set at the center of nearly every gathering, and it is made to be shared. The platter comes down in the middle of a cloth spread across the floor. The family closes in around it, hands reaching in together. Around one plate of it can sit a Pashtun from the south, a Tajik from the valleys, a Hazara from the highlands, and an Uzbek from the north. 4 peoples who have not always been friends, eating from the same rice. The color that began as cold blue rock in Badakhshan has crossed the whole country to get here. Now it comes to rest, warm at last, passed from one hand to the next around the cloth. The platter empties and the tea comes out. Outside, the light leaves the mountains the way it arrived, peak by peak, and the city eases toward dark. Somewhere across it, a baker is already banking a fire for the morning's bread. Morning comes back to the farmhouse above Bamiyan. The woman who stirred her pot at dusk steps out under a cleared sky, and across the valley the new snow has caught in the 2 empty niches and traced again in white the exact shape of what once stood there. Below her, the cellars are stacked with the valley's potatoes. Far to the north, the banner still stands in the square at Mazar, 12 days into its 40. In Badakhshan, the river runs grey with the first melt, and one more stone in it is turning somewhere blue. Other countries are remembered for what their headlines named. Afghanistan is remembered for what its rivers, plates and cliffs keep. 40 million people, 4 peoples. "6,000 years of blue, 1 plate." In Kabul, the morning bread comes out hot.